Okay, hello guys. So at this time, we will be having the discussion of HTML. Okay, so this is our lesson for this semester. You're going to learn here how to create or how to use HTML, how to create a website on your own. Okay, and this time I'll be discussing here the lesson 1.1 Introduction to HTML. Okay, so let's start, guys. So HTML introduction. Okay. So for those who are not yet familiar with HTML, so in this lesson, I'm going to introduce it to you so that you will be familiar on what is HTML is. Okay. So the very first question that we have to ask is, what is HTML? Okay. So what's the meaning? So you can see here HTML. So HTML has a meaning, okay? So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, okay? So that is the meaning of HTML. H for hyper, T for text, M for markup, and L for language, okay? So this one, you have to be very familiar with this. HTML is not a programming language, okay? So most of people they knew that HTML is a programming language, but it is not, okay? So as you can see from the name itself, this is a markup language, okay? HTML is only used to design the website, okay, that you're going to create, okay? Programming language, those are the program or language that you use in HTML, or I mean in the website that you created using HTML to make it function. Okay. So basically it means that HTML, it is used to design the website. You will design the website. Okay. For example, you want to design your own website, your own store. So you will design the outline of your website using the HTML. But if you want to use a programming language on your website, you have to use other language, okay, like PHP, like JavaScript. Okay, those are the programming language for a website, okay? But you have to remember, HTML is not a programming language. It's a markup language used to design a website, okay? So HTML, it is the most widely used language on web to develop web pages. Okay, you see all those websites that you know, Facebook, okay, YouTube, Twitter. So those are some famous web pages that you know. So most of them, they are developed using HTML, okay? So that's why if you learn this basics of HTML, you can create your own website, okay? So we have here history, little bit of history about HTML. HTML was created by Berners-Lee. So that's the name of the one who created HTML, okay? And it is created in late 1991, okay? So that's like 30 years ago, okay? So HTML was created. And then HTML 2.0, so this is the second version of HTML. So it was the very first standard HTML specification which was published in 1995, okay? So the very first standard HTML was published 1995, okay? And then we also have the HTML4. So it was a major version of HTML and it was published in late 1999. Okay? So that's the major version. That's the version that most people use on that day, okay, on that time. Though HTML 4.0 version is widely used, but currently, right now, we have HTML5, okay? And it is an extension of HTML4, and this version was published in 2012. Okay, so right now currently we have HTML5. Okay, so that's the brief history of HTML, guys. It was created, remember, it was created by Berners-Lee 1991, and the latest version, HTML5, the HTML5 version was published in 2012. Okay, so here I have another question. Why to learn HTML? Okay, so originally HTML was developed with the intent of defining the structure of documents like headings, paragraphs, lists, and so forth, and etc., to facilitate the sharing of scientific information between researchers. Okay, originally this is the reason why HTML was developed. Okay, it is used to define it's supposed to be used to define the structure of documents. But now HTML is being widely used to format web pages with the help of different tags available in HTML language. Okay, you see here, why to learn HTML? At the very first, originally it is supposed to be used to define structure of documents, but now HTML is being widely used to format web pages, to develop web pages. Okay, so here guys, I have the advantages here, advantages of learning HTML. Okay, so number one, if you know how to use HTML, you can create a website on your own. Okay, you can create a website or customize an existing web template if you know HTML well. Okay, if you will really learn or study this HTML, you can be really good at creating website. Okay, and it's a really good job, since nowadays a lot of people are using internet online, so it's very fortunate if you are familiar with using this HTML. Okay, so another advantage is you can become a web designer. So if you want to start a career as a professional web designer, so you can learn HTML, and then after that you can proceed learning CSS. So CSS is another language used to design. Okay, used to design more on your website, like colors, styles, okay, font styles, font size, okay, background. Okay, so that's more better if you, it's better if you learn CSS as well. But this semester, this time, we'll just focus on HTML. Okay, so you can understand the web, okay, if you are familiar with HTML. If you want to optimize your website, meaning if you want to use or boost your website, okay, to boost its speeds and performance, it is good to know HTML. Okay, and then if you are familiar with HTML, then you can also learn other programming language. Okay, because once you understand the basic of HTML, then other technologies, just like what I said earlier, JavaScript, PHP, Angular, so it's becoming easier for you to understand if you understand the basic of HTML. Okay, so meaning this is just like a stepping stone. If you learn HTML very well, you can easily learn other language, because the logic and the flow of HTML is just like the same with other language. So if you are familiar with it, you can easily understand other languages as well. Okay, so next, so I have here guys a very simple program of HTML that says hello world. Okay, so just to give you a little excitement about HTML, since this is just the introduction, so I'm just going to give you a small example of HTML program that displays hello world. Okay, so this is the example. Okay, let me just move myself here. All right, so you see this one, these are the tags. You see this one, we have the HTML tag. Okay, later on, of course, we'll be discussing this one thoroughly, okay, these tags. But this time I'm just going to show you so that you'll have an idea about how to create HTML, okay? And this time we'll only be using Notepad, okay? Of course, all of your computers, laptops, they have Notepad, so we're gonna be using Notepad in this HTML, okay? So here in this example, you see we have HTML tag, we have the head, okay? The head meaning this is like the heading of your website, and the title of your website. You see this one. We have here title, and if you notice here, guys, we have always two tags. Okay, you see this one HTML here, and below we also have HTML, and on the head we have head, and then here we have head as well, and then body h1 pp. Okay, so these tags we have open tag, opening tag, and ending tag. Okay, that's why we always have two. Okay, but there are some tags that don't need an ending tag. Okay, but later on we're gonna be discussing that. But this time, let's just focus on this example. Okay, so this is a document title. So this is the title. Okay, and then in the body, we just put here, this is a heading, and then P, we say inside hello world. Okay, this is a very simple example of HTML, and this example will display the word hello world in your web page. Okay, and we'll only be using Notepad in this. Okay, so before I do this example on my Notepad, guys, let's just discuss this first. Applications of HTML. Okay. So here, the first application that you can use in this HTML is web page development. So you can develop web pages, and then internet navigation. You can navigate the internet using HTML because it provides tags which are used to navigate from one page to another. Okay? So meaning if you create one page, you can click on a button or on any part of your website, and then it will go to another website. Okay? And then to another website, to another website. So it can navigate the internet using HTML. Okay? And then we have here responsive UI. UI meaning user interface. So HTML pages nowadays works well in all platform. I mean all platform, okay? HTML can work in a mobile, in your phones, in a tab or Chrome tab or a tablet, okay? And then desktop, like your computer or laptops, okay? So HTML are working in all platforms, okay? And then we also have offline support. HTML pages have offline. Okay, we don't need internet using this HTML. As you can see later, as you will see later, I'll just be using Notepad. And Notepad don't need internet. Okay, and we can create a website offline. Okay. And then if you are also familiar and if you will learn HTML very well, you can also become a game developer. Okay, you can develop games. Okay, HTML5 now has native support for creating a game or developing a game. So if you will apply this HTML in your life, you can do these things. Okay. All right. So that is the lesson 1.1, introduction to HTML. And I hope, guys, that you are now familiar with HTML. What's the meaning of HTML? Who created HTML? And I showed you an example, a very quick example of HTML. And later on lesson 1.2 discussion, I will be showing you some examples. Okay. So now, guys, let's proceed now to lesson 1.2. Okay. But if you have any questions about the HTML introduction, you can turn on your microphone, guys, while I'm discussing this, or You can leave a message and I will reply on your message on the Google Classroom, okay? So now, we'll be having this lesson 1.2, and lesson 1.2 is overview of HTML. So I'm going to be discussing here more further details about HTML, okay? So let's start, guys. So let's present this one. Okay, overview of HTML. So HTML, again, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Okay, so that is HTML stands for, and I already discussed this earlier. And it is the most widely used language to write web pages. Okay, so hypertext refers to the way in which pages like HTML documents are linked together. Okay, that's the meaning of hypertext. The web pages that you created can be linked together, okay? Thus, the link available on a web page is called hypertext, okay? So, as its name suggests, HTML is a markup language, which means you use HTML to simply mark up, or you design a text document with tags that tell a web browser how to structure it to display, okay? So, those tags that we'll be using, if we convert it into an HTML file, so the web browser will understand those programs that we'll create, and they will structure it on however we want it to display in the website. Okay, that's why it's just a markup language. Okay, so next, so the basic HTML document, okay, in its simplest form, following is an example of an HTML document. So I'm going to show you a very simple example. Another example, because earlier we have hello world, right? Okay, so this one is the example of an HTML document. You see this one, we have HTML, we have the head, the body, H1 and P. Okay, this is just like the example earlier about the hello world. Okay, so this is a finished example of HTML. So if we run this in our Google Chrome or any web browser that you have, it will display like this one. This is a heading and document goes here. Okay, you see this? So let's try this one, guys. Let's try this example. Let's try the example earlier the um about the hello world earlier. Okay, so in this time, let's use this notepad. You see this notepad here? Okay, so let's make our notepad bigger so that you can see this one. Okay, all right. Okay, okay, so let's try and make this bigger, guys. Okay, so that I can see myself. All right, so this time, guys, after you open your notepad, you can see this one, right? So while I'm discussing this, I'm doing this example, guys, you can follow this, okay, so that you can do it on your own computer. So make sure that you follow this notepad example of HTML that I'm gonna be showing you. Follow this, okay, so that you can do it on your own. And then once you follow it, I want you to take a screenshot of it and put it in the Google Classroom, okay? So now, the first thing that we have to do is we have to start with our HTML tag, okay? So we have to put here first HTML, okay? So this is the opening tag, right? Opening tag of HTML. So this is a little bit of tip for you guys. So if you are creating an HTML, make sure that when you created the opening tag, make sure that you will also create the ending tag, okay? So the ending tag is the same HTML, but at the beginning of HTML, use this backslash, okay? You have to use this slash. So this is the opening tag and this is the ending tag of HTML, okay? So make sure that when you create opening tag, create also the ending tag, okay? So once we have opening tag of HTML, we can now proceed with the heading, okay? So we can start first with creating the heading or the head tag. Okay, so the head tag is this one, opening tag of head, and make sure that you also do the ending, okay? So ending is like this one, head. Okay, make sure that you follow me, guys. And inside the head, since this is the heading, you can just put here. Inside the head, you can put a title. Okay, so title here. So this is the opening tag, and then the ending tag, write it here. Okay, so backslash for the ending tag, like this one. Okay, and then when you have this title, so this is just an example. So I'll just put here, this is document title. Okay, so that you can see this one. Okay, this is just a document title. So this is just an example. Later on, I'm gonna show you that this praise, this is document title. It will show on our website. Okay. So after we do the head, okay. So let's say we are finished with the head. So now we can start doing the body. Okay. Of course, if we have the head, we have the body. So make sure that you again do the opening tag and the closing tag. Okay. So inside our body, we can put here H1. Okay. We can put here H1, and then let's put here H1 ending tag H1. Okay. So H1 represents the heading. Okay. Later on, I'm gonna show you a discussion about this different tags. Okay. So let's say this is heading 1. Okay, because we have H1 example. And then this letter P tag, okay, this letter P tag, it represents P means paragraph. Okay, so let's create the ending tag of P like this one. Okay, let's say in our paragraph, we'll just put here hello world. Okay, so as you can see here, our HTML file example is finished. Okay, you see we have opening of HTML, closing of HTML. We have opening of head, closing of head. We have title inside the head. Okay, we have the body. And in our body, we have heading 1, H1. And we have paragraph hello world. Okay, so after this, of course, you have to save this file. Okay, and make sure that you will save your notepad as an HTML file. Okay, so we can just click this, go to file, and then save as. And in our save as, you can just put here, let's say, I'll just save it in my desktop. And then I'll just put here, let's say, hello world. That, make sure that it should always end with .html. Okay, the notepad, if you want to save it, make sure that you save hello world, and it should be ending with .html. Okay, and save as type makes it all files. Okay, and then you can just save it. Okay, and you can see the notepad now is saved as hello world. And if we go to my desktop here, okay, you can see that hello world is here. Okay, and as you can see, it's the logo of the hello world is using Google Chrome. Okay, so as you can see, let's minimize it again and again. So if we open it, double click, and you can see here, guys, that this is heading. Okay, you see the title here, this is a document title. Okay, and you see this is heading 1. This is the heading 1 that we discussed, right? And hello world. All right, as you can see here, this is what your HTML file will look like, because this is what we did, right? We have notepad here, And okay, let me, okay. So the notepad, the program here is HTML, and this is what we did. All right, this is the example of hello world, and if we go to our example here, okay, this one here, this is the output. You see, hello world, and this is heading 1. So if we put more HTML programs here, then we can create our own website. Okay, so let's proceed on our HTML overview. All right, so this is the example. See, this is the output earlier, the one that I did. So now guys, let's discuss the HTML tag. So as I told earlier, HTML is a markup language and it makes use of various tags to format the content. So now let's discuss the HTML tags. So these tags are enclosed within braces, okay? In less than and greater than. It's inside less than and greater than, and the tag name is inside, okay? So except for a few tags, but most of the tags there corresponds with a closing tags. And I discussed earlier how to create a closing tag, okay? So here, another example. For example, HTML has its closing tag /HTML. And body tag has its closing tag /body tag, and etc. Okay? So here guys, I have this different tags and its descriptions. Okay, so this doc type, so it defines that the document type and the HTML version, but you can just ignore this. We're not gonna be using this. So this one, number 2, HTML. So this tag encloses the complete HTML document and mainly comprises of document header, which is represented by head, and body, which is represented by body. That's why in my example earlier, we have HTML, closing HTML, and inside opening and closing of HTML, we have the body and the head, okay? So the use of HTML is, it determines that it is an HTML document and it completes the HTML document if we have opening HTML and closing HTML, okay? And the head tag, it represents the document's header, which HTML tags like title, link, okay, these are the files, or these are the tags that you can put inside the head, okay? And the title tag is used inside the head to tag, head tag to mention the document title. As you can see here, this title here, you see this is document title on this tab, right? So this is what we put in the title, okay? So that is the function of this title tag, okay? Title tag is the same with this one, okay? So let's proceed. Okay, so that's the title tag, okay? It's used to mention the document title. And next one, guys, is the body. So body represents the document's body, which keeps other HTML tags like h1, div, and p. h1 is for heading. So for h1, we have different up to h6, okay? h1, h2, h3 until h6, okay? Later on, I will show you the examples of this. So h1, this tag represents the heading. And letter P, this tag represents a paragraph, okay? So that is the HTML tags that we can use in our HTML, okay? So to learn HTML, you will need to study various tags and understand how they behave while formatting a textual document. So meaning, in this lesson, in this HTML lessons, guys, you have to remember and study the different tags that we have. Okay, you have to study And remember and understand all those tags because you need those tags to create HTML. Okay, so when I discuss the HTML tags, make sure that you will always listen, okay, on how this tag works because you have to use it when you're creating your own HTML file on the activity. Okay, because every time that I will have a discussion, guys, I will discuss and then later on you will do an activity based on the discussion that I discussed. Okay. And now we have learning HTML is simple as users have to learn the usage of different tags in order to format the text or images to make a beautiful web page. So HTML is very simple actually. If you know the different tags, okay, so make sure that you will understand all the tags that I will be discussing, okay? Because if you do, HTML is much more easier for you guys, okay? So what do we need to start our HTML? So what we need is we need to pick one, a web browser, okay? You can use Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Safari, Edge, or Internet Explorer, but please don't use Internet Explorer because that's really slow. So you can just use Google Chrome, just like me. I'm using Google Chrome, okay? And use or choose a text editor. You can use Notepad, Notepad++, Sublime Text, Atom.io, Visual Studio Code, but this time we'll just be using Notepad, okay? Just like what I'm showing you. So we'll be using Notepad only, okay? So once we have a web browser and a text editor, we can now start using or creating HTML, okay? So let's get started. All right, so let's get started. So that is the discussion, guys, about HTML overview. So earlier we discussed the introduction to HTML, and I believe, guys, that you are now familiar with HTML. It is used to create a website. And we also discussed the lesson 1.2 HTML overview, and I showed you some examples. Okay, a very simple example, but of course later on our further discussions, okay, further discussions later on the coming days, coming weeks, I'll be discussing more about HTML. But this time, since it's our first meeting, I'll just have this HTML overview and introduction to HTML. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, I'm in the Google Classroom, so you can just turn on your microphone if you have any questions. So now let's proceed now, guys, in your activities. Okay, since we are finished with all the discussions, it's time for your activities. So I'll just explain what your activity is, guys. So let's start with activity 1.1. It's an activity about flowchart. Since you guys are my students on M2, so you are already familiar with the flowchart, and I've discussed this earlier. So you can just see these instructions here. So create a flowchart about your daily life activities. So the first one that you are gonna create a flowchart of is how I go to school. Okay, so create a flowchart on how do you go to school. Do you walk from your house to school? Do you use a motorcycle taxi? Do you use a taxi? Do you use Grab, or does your parents or your father drop you off at school? So any process on steps that you go to school, make a flowchart about it. Okay, and you see this example here. This is an example on how to make a tea. All right, and number 2 is how to cook rice. Okay, so make sure that you create a flowchart here, guys, on how to cook a rice. Okay, so what's the first thing that you have to do? First, you have to buy the rice, right? So is the money or the budget enough for the rice? And then once you have the rice, do you wash the rice first or you just directly cook it? And then how many minutes do you wait until uh, the rice is cooked? Okay, so it's up to your procedure on how do you cook rice. Okay, and create a flowchart about it. Okay, so that's activity 1.1 for today about flowchart. Okay, and then after finishing the activity about flowchart, guys, so I have a quiz. Okay, so you see this one, step 6, step 5. So after finishing the activity 1.1, take the quiz 1, Introduction to HTML and Overview, to assess your understanding on today's lesson. Okay, so this time, you're gonna go to the second assignment that I posted, which is the quiz 1. So let's see this one. So the title of this quiz is Quiz 1, Lesson 1, Introduction to HTML, June 7, 2021. So take this quiz after finishing all the activities. So after you finish creating the activity 1.1, make sure that you click this link. Okay? Quiz 1, HTML Introduction. Click this link and answer all the questions that I have provided in this quiz. All the questions here are all related with this introduction to HTML and overview of HTML. Okay? So that's it, guys. So that's the activity for today. So you have activity 1.1, and the second is the quiz about overview and introduction of HTML. So if you'll have any questions, feel free to ask me the questions. I'm in the Google meeting, so as you. So you can just turn on your microphone or leave a message in the Google meeting chat box so that I can help you in your questions if you have. Okay? So that's it, guys. I'll just be here in this Google meeting. And if you have any questions or if you need help about something, feel free to message me. Okay? And you guys have all the remaining time that we have to finish this activity and the quiz. Okay? So good luck, guys. I'll just be here and message me if you have any questions. Okay?